I never thought I'd be sharing this story, but some moments in life quietly change everything. My name is Elise. I'm 44 and I've been a single mother for most of my adult life. Raising my son Lenny wasn't always easy, but we built a strong, unbreakable life together. He's 22 now, responsible and busy with work and school, but we've always stayed incredibly close. We were the kind of mother and son who talked about everything, who leaned on each other when the world felt overwhelming. One cold winter evening, something happened that made me realize how complicated emotions can become as people grow. Lenny came home looking completely drained. His shoulders were tense, his eyes were tired, and he admitted he felt unwell after long hours of studying and working. I told him he could rest in my room where it was warmer, since the heating in the rest of the house was unreliable. He lay down on my bed, and I pulled a thick blanket over him, thinking nothing of it. It felt like any other moment between a caring mother and her exhausted son. I sat beside him and asked if he needed tea or medicine, but he just shook his head and closed his eyes. The house was quiet, with only the wind tapping softly against the windows. After a little while, I lay down next to him, just to keep him company. Lenny shifted slightly under the blanket, moving closer to get warm. Without thinking, he wrapped his arm around me, the same familiar way he used to when he was a little boy scared of storms. The gesture surprised me for a second, but it also felt natural, like an old memory returning. I told myself he just needed some comfort after a stressful week. For a few minutes, neither of us spoke. I could hear his breathing slow down as he relaxed. But in the quiet room, every small movement felt amplified, and my own heartbeat seemed to echo in my ears. He moved again, pulling a little closer, and I felt a strange tension settle in the air between us. It wasn't obvious, just a subtle shift, an awareness that this moment felt different from the past. I tried to ignore it, telling myself I was overthinking things. But the longer we stayed there, the more I became aware of how much he had grown. Lenny wasn't a little boy anymore. He was a young man with his own thoughts and emotions, and that realization made the moment unexpectedly complicated. He opened his eyes and looked at me, his expression soft yet uncertain, as if he were silently asking if everything was okay. I gave him a small, reassuring smile, hoping to ease the awkward feeling that had started to form. His hand rested lightly on my arm, his fingers moving absent-mindedly, as if he were lost in thought. It was such a small gesture, but it made the silence between us feel so much heavier. My mind filled with questions I couldn't answer. Why did this suddenly feel so intense? Why did I feel both protective and strangely nervous at the same time? Neither of us said anything. The room seemed suspended in time, caught between the past and the present. Finally, Lenny shifted and sat up slightly, letting out a nervous laugh as if he just realized how close we'd been. He rubbed the back of his neck and looked away. "Sorry, Mum," he said quietly, his voice a little shaky. "I didn't mean to make things awkward." His words snapped me back to reality. I quickly told him it was fine, that he just needed rest after working so hard. But even though I tried to sound calm, I could still feel that strange tension lingering in the air. Just then, the doorbell rang. The sharp sound broke the moment like a clap of thunder. I stood up almost immediately, strangely grateful for the interruption. When I opened the door, our neighbor Mark was standing there with his usual friendly smile. Mark had lived next door for years and often checked in during the winter because he knew our heating system was a problem. He asked if everything was all right and offered to take a look at the heater. His casual conversation felt like a welcome distraction, so I invited him inside. As Mark stepped into the living room and started checking the thermostat, I noticed Lenny standing in the hallway, watching us. His expression was hard to read. There was a seriousness in his gaze that I hadn't seen before, something that made my stomach tighten. Mark kept chatting about work and everyday things, completely unaware of the complicated emotions still hanging in the air. When he finished, he smiled and said everything should be fine now, reminding me I could always call if I needed help. After he left, I closed the door and turned around to see Lenny still standing there with his arms crossed. The silence returned instantly. I asked him gently if he was okay, but he just shrugged and said he hadn't expected Mark to show up. His answer felt incomplete, like there were thoughts he wasn't ready to say out loud. Before I could ask more, he walked down the hallway into his room, leaving me alone with 1,000 thoughts running through my head. I sat on the edge of my bed, wondering why such a simple moment had suddenly felt so complicated. A while later, there was a quiet knock on my door. Lenny stepped inside and sat beside me, his hands clasped together as if he were trying to find the courage to speak. After a long silence, he admitted he didn't fully understand what he'd been feeling earlier. He apologized again if he had made things uncomfortable. I placed my hand over his and told him that sometimes emotions get confusing, especially when people have been through so much together for so many years. We both nodded, understanding that we needed to give ourselves time to process the moment, rather than rush to explain it. Eventually, he rested his head on my shoulder, the way he used to when he was younger, and I wrapped my arm around him in a simple, reassuring hug. The gesture reminded me that despite everything, our bond was still built on years of trust and care. After a moment, he pulled back and said quietly that maybe we shouldn't try to figure everything out right away. That perhaps what we needed most was time and space to think clearly. His words were thoughtful and sincere, and I agreed. Sometimes, the most important thing isn't finding answers immediately, but allowing complicated emotions to settle until understanding comes naturally. And in that quiet moment, I realized that growing up doesn't just change children, it changes the relationships we share with them, forcing us to learn new boundaries, new understanding, and a deeper kind of patience. Thanks for listening.